Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's fireside chat with Heather Larson. And we will be speaking how being more with less makes us healthier and happier. Even if it might not seem very obvious to everyone, you will soon understand why. Heather has a huge background in all related to fashion, sustainable fashion, fast fashion. And I'm really pleased to have her here today. But first of all, I want to thank also the Bonsai and Jacaranda members who will find all the extra bonuses in the membership area and can also ask questions afterwards. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Catherine. Nice to speak with you.
Thank you for joining us today. And I just wanted to dive in directly and talk about fashion, obviously. But my first question is, how did you start to be interested in fashion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it comes from an interest in clothing and textiles. So not fashion as in new flashy trends, for instance, but my great-grandpa was a tailor, my grandma was a seamstress, my mom would sew us clothes as kids and does a lot of quilting. So I think I was surrounded by people who really liked fabrics and who liked making things. I also always loved like costumes in movies, so learning about how they were made, all these kind of beautiful costumes that could make you something else. So I think I always very much enjoyed that. We also grew up with a kind of quality over quantity mindset when it came to clothes. We were back to school shopping. Instead of getting, a new pair of jeans for every day of the week, it was one or two that fit well, that were good, that you could wear all year. So I think it was kind of a subtle mindset that I always had. Then when I was in university, I really became involved with and interested in gender equality and women's rights. And as you know, the clothing and textile industry is dominated by women. So I was introduced to sustainable fashion from a gender equality and labor rights perspective. So it was really when I moved to Amsterdam in 2015 that I became, I think, more directly involved in the sustainable fashion movement and industry. There's a lot going on here in the Netherlands. So in 2015, I worked for an international women's fund called Mama Cash, and we had a collaboration with the Clean Clothes campaign that I found really fascinating, and I volunteered a little bit for. Then in 2016 and 2017, when I did my master's in social and cultural anthropology, I had the opportunity to do field research in Dhaka, Bangladesh. My thesis was on young female labor migrants, and some of those, part of that group was garment factory workers. So I was able to join meetings and interviews in the field with these women, and also work with researchers who were experts in the field. And these kind of direct experiences really taught me a lot about the complexity of the issue and the complexity of the solutions as well. When I came back from Bangladesh in 2017, 2018, I worked for Fashion for Good here in Amsterdam. It's a startup incubator, a museum, a fund with a focus on scalable innovations in the industry. So there's kind of been a number of different things that I've worked on with this theme. Since then, it's been more of a personal journey for me to dig into my own wardrobe and figure out how to best embody slow fashion.
Yeah, I can relate to this because as a child, my mother made me learn sewing, and I really enjoyed doing this myself for me and also for family and friends. So, and I remember back then, it's already a long time ago, even if I feel younger than my age, but I think that like 20, 30 years ago, you could really, when you were sewing your own clothes, it was cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nowadays, it's almost impossible to do something on your own for the same price, unless you reuse some clothing that you have to do new ones with this.
Absolutely.
But buying new fabric to do something totally new costs much more than if you have to buy something in the shop. So this is when I first realized that the things were shifting. But I would say at least 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's great. Like the cost is a lot more, and the skills. I don't personally have the skills or the patience. I can sew a button or mend a little piece, but I didn't get those same lessons and skills that I think my mom had. So it's
Yes. And so talking about that, maybe the next point would be we're hearing a lot about fast fashion. When I think about 20 or 30 years ago, you had you had really spring, summer, and fall, winter collections. And now it seems that almost every week, you have new clothes in the shops, which is totally crazy. On one side, on the other side, obviously, a lot of people think, oh, I will go shopping to see what's new. And this is also something done from the industry point of view, I think, just to sell more clothing. No?
Yeah, it's a machine. There's a lot of money to be made and very good marketing. So it's definitely a lot available. I think from the year 2000, we've increased our consumption by 60%, which is enormous.
Wow.
I mean, I just think at 2000, I was a kid, and it doesn't seem that long ago. And 60% is a lot. It's in your face all the time. It's very available.
Yeah. And so what's actually the problem of fast fashion? Because I think that it's there are more problems behind just the fact that we consume more. No.
Yeah. So I think the environmental and social impacts are huge. We hear all sorts of big figures, such as 2 to 8% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions come from the textile and clothing industry. 215 trillion liters of water consumed by the industry per year. It costs, just for one T-shirt, it takes many, many liters of water to produce. Textiles account for approximately 9% of annual microplastic losses to the ocean. The chemicals from the dyeing process end up in rivers. You can Google, blue rivers in China, and you'll see all the dye from denim washing down the rivers, and that's what people consume. Salt from leather curing and leather preservation as it's transported, and just the cutoff waste from patterns. There's so many things going on just from an environmental standpoint. And then the social impact is huge. There's 300 million workers in the textile and clothing value chain, many of whom are women and many of whom have been exploited for their labor. So while this happens every day, some really poignant incidents are the Rana Plaza collapse in Bangladesh in 2013. It was a complex of garment factories, and there were structural issues with it. It wasn't up to code. It collapsed and it killed over 1,000 people. In 2020, so more recently, when COVID-19 shut the world down, a lot of big brands canceled closing orders that had already been made, and they refused to pay for them. So this left a lot of already really vulnerable workers without pay for work that they had already done. So there's always a cost to our clothes. Even if we're paying a tiny fraction, if we're paying €2 for a t-shirt, it doesn't cost €2 to create that. And someone else is paying the price, or something else is paying the price. So whether that's the person who made it, the environment, future, there's always a cost to that.
Yeah. And I think that people are really not aware. I think 2015 with Bangladesh, what happened there, it was at one point the latest news, but then quickly, obviously, we didn't hear about this anymore. And I must say that what you said about 2020 and COVID, it's the first time I hear about this, that actually clothes were not paid for. So, I mean, it has not only environmental impact, but also, I think, more the people who are behind, who the workers.
Yeah, someone already.
And obviously, if you buy a T-shirt for €2 or $2, I mean, what can you expect from it? I mean, obviously there is a quality issue, but also everything behind.
Absolutely.
We maybe don't want to know because it's easier.
Yeah. And I think a big piece of that, the quality issue, kind of leads into, there's all the pre-impact. So before we get our clothes, all the production impacts for the environment, social, but also once we receive our clothes, once we have it, since it's kind of this easy come, easy go mentality with clothes, we bought it cheaply, it's maybe not high quality, so we're not going to put as much love and care into it. We might not mend it, or it might just break after 1 or 2 uses, and then we throw it out. So with all these clothes, extra clothes that we're buying, a lot of those are ending up in landfills where they don't break down easily. They contribute to more methane gas in the environment. And also, even if we do keep our clothes, just the washing of them, that's where the microplastics come from, is every time we wash our clothes, especially if we have stretchy clothes, so anything with our stretched jeans or our yoga pants, that's contributing to microplastics in the ocean. The heat, the energy that we use to heat the water that washes our clothes is actually more of an impact than the energy used to transport our clothes. That was a really surprising one to me as well. So it's easy to think that it's a problem that's far away, but it's also a problem once we get our hands on the clothes too.
Yeah, I knew that there was an issue with microplastics in the water, but I actually didn't realize that most of it comes from washing our clothes. And it's true that all the stretched jeans and so on didn't exist like 30 years ago.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to imagine living without them sometimes. So it becomes, how do we take care of them? How can we balance it out a bit?
Yeah. And so, how would sustainable fashion look like, or what can we? Yeah, what are the basics of more sustainable fashion?
So I think well, just the word sustainable means that we can keep doing something indefinitely. It's self-sustaining. So sustainable fashion in theory would be production. The production isn't harmful to the environment. Workers across the supply chain are compensated fairly for their labor, and our clothes live long lives on our bodies and in our closets. And when we dispose of them, they somehow contribute back to the cycle. Some people use the concept of circularity when it comes to sustainable fashion. So we work in a very linear way right now, where something's produced, used, disposed, it's done. Circularity is it goes back into the cycle. So for example, a t-shirt, they've developed ones that when you're done with them, they can be buried or recycled, and they'll either decompose or they'll go back into the production cycle. So things like that. So that's an idea of sustainable fashion. The current way we're producing, both in process, volume, not disposable, or not sustainable, sorry. But true change, I think, is going to come from many different angles. There's no one thing that's going to shift the balance, no one silver bullet. So I think there's a few different actors that we can look at in a big way. So one would be government and institutional regulations. That's really important. It can be tough from a individual country standpoint, especially as supply chains are super complicated. But institutions like the EU are nice because it's a collaboration of so many countries together. It really creates a block that can be quite strong. Brand responsibility, that's a really big one. Brands have a lot of power here to make a lot of change. Unfortunately, they're also the least motivated to make change because that would cut into their profits. But really, I think they could make in my opinion, they could make the most of an impact. But then there's also the consumers. So how do we consume our clothes? What do we expect from our clothes? And so that's what we're here to talk about today. I think that sometimes brands, sometimes governments kind of shift the responsibility to consumers, which I think is I don't think is great, because it kind of takes the responsibility away from them. It can lead to greenwashing campaigns. It can be buy more, buy sustainable, which is still just buy more. But even with that in mind, I think we can all do our part, and there are definitely things consumers can do.
Yes, I think that one thing which I already said in previous fireside chats is actually you can vote with your money what you buy or what you don't buy, and we too often forget about this. So if we want to have more sustainable fashion, it's actually refusing what's not sustainable. Yeah. I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Is I would say buy less and better. That would be my overall my overall suggestion. But I would say also pick where you put your focus, and don't try and be the perfect consumer, because there's many things you could do to be a better ethical consumer. It could drive you crazy, but I think there's a lot of good steps you could make. So my first thought would be shop with intention. Really take an inventory of your closet. What do I need? What do I use often? What do I need more of? What isn't getting used at all? And then really go shop with purpose. So instead of just shopping for fun to see what's out there, shop because you need something. And I don't mean bare necessities. Like, I think you can still have fun with fashion. You can still express yourself with fashion. But make sure that it's something that's going to be useful to you. And then within...
Yeah, and I think... Sorry. No, and I think it's also being more mindful. So it's in being more mindful about how you shop. It also has to do with slow fashion.
Yeah,
no?
I think slow fashion's a big one. I think we expect things to come very quickly. We can click online and get it the next day, send it back if we don't like it. It makes it very, very easy, very fast. But then I think that sometimes slowing down and thinking about, do I really want this? Thinking about something for a little while, that can be huge, because sometimes you see something that's amazing, you want it right now, and you can get it right now. Whereas if you stop for a minute and think about, do I really want this? Where is it coming from? That can slow you down, and maybe you sleep on it for a couple nights and and you don't need it so much anymore. Realize that there's something else already in your closet that can fill that hole. So I would say, yeah, being very mindful and intentional about what you're buying, because it comes from where somebody made it. There is an impact on the environment. Is that impact kind of worth it to you, or worth what you'll get out of this piece?
Yes, I think there is also a direct psychological link between the shopping and why we shop or when we shop. Oftentimes you hear, okay, I need something to boost my mood. I will go on a shopping tour, and then people just buy too much, or because they like it to feel better, but not necessarily because they need it.
Yeah, I think we joke about retail therapy, about how it makes you feel good, and it's that kind of rush of chemicals, that makes you feel good for having bought something. But it doesn't last, except the impact of the clothes does last. So it's important to think about also, why am I shopping? Not just what am I shopping for, but why am I shopping? I noticed that during COVID, during the first lockdown, at home, you're not doing anything, and I found myself really wanting to buy things online. And I'm not too impulsive of a buyer, but I was really excited. I was stuck somewhere, and I was really excited to buy shampoo, really excited to buy these, like a new sweater. I needed new like stretchy pants for work from home or something like that. And there was really, I noticed in myself that there was this rush from buying things. And I think that's real. And you have to be a bit mindful and step back and say, do I need this right now, or am I shopping for the thrill of it?
Yes, and as you said, I mean, it's a rush on feel good, but once you have it, this good feeling gets away very quickly. So actually, it lasts very short in time, but it can cost very much. Not only for yourself, talking about money, but also the impact it has behind. Yeah. And I think that this is also why nowadays shopping has been made so easy for consumers that, as you said, one click, you have it the next day. You're not happy with it, you can send it back, and you don't even have to leave your house. And so it can't be made much easier than that.
No.
So I would say, what can we do? Because there are more than one step we can take to be more mindful and to also have a better relationship to fashion. And what the first steps we can make to go down to slow fashion, and because I'm pretty sure this will also make us feel happier, because we know the impact we have on our environment, and it's also a legacy.
Yeah. So I think, as I said, step one is intention. Take an inventory of your closet, see what you need. What is my style? What suits me? What is going to last me a long time? And I think really having that as a guiding principle is already very helpful, because then you're not filling your closet with things that you are going to throw away or not touch. I would think about quality. So of course, everyone has different budgets. I don't want to shame anyone for shopping at a fast fashion retailer. If that's what they can afford, that's absolutely the reality for some people. But going for within your budget, what kind of quality can you afford, and how can you make sure that you take care of your clothes? Can you mend something when it's broken? Make sure you wash it correctly, like read the washing instructions, hang things to dry, wash on cold, like that sort of thing. So just really taking care of your clothes. I think Fashion Revolution has a really nice kind of slogan of loved clothes last, and I think that's true. They last a lot longer and serve you better. I think you can also dig into sustainable brands. I think that can get complicated. So what I would say is pick social and environmental issues that matter most to you. So maybe it's important that your clothes are made in a factory that you is close to you, or you know about, or it hasn't been transported too far. Maybe the story behind your clothes is really important. Maybe you want to make sure that all of your clothes are natural fibers, organic cotton, made with dyes that are natural as well. You can use there's different indexes. So there's Fashion Revolution has an index of rating 250 brands. There's an app called Good On You, and they rate, you can put in what brands you regularly wear, and it will say how they're doing in terms of different indicators. There's also certain labels and standards you can look for, like Sustainable Apparel Coalition. There's different cotton standards. So there's a number of different things. If you really want to dig into the science of it, you can pick sustainable brands. What I would say is choose actions that are going to fit your lifestyle, your skills, your goals. So maybe you love shopping secondhand. You do that one. I don't enjoy it very much, but it stresses me out. So I pick more slow fashion. Like I found a really nice dressmaker the other day from the UK, and I love that that they make each order to order. Basically, you can customize it. You know how much they're making. Like, to me, that's really important. So I'm going to choose that over something else. So I would say start by picking and choosing what works for you, what you can do, and there's a number of different ways you can look into buying more mindfully.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I also heard about you have more and more people or brands, new brands, which are all about upcycling.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of my second daughter when she was, I think, 3 years old. I had a jeans which I used for the fabric of the jeans, and then something else, I don't remember. And from there, I did a mini jeans jacket for her.
That's great.
Which was, it was, for me, it was fun because it was creative, doing something with your hands, crafting something yourself. It's really feels good. And it was a unique piece.
Yeah, that's really special.
Obviously not everyone has the same can sew, and maybe not everyone can do this, but you can find already brands who are doing upcycling. And I must say, I didn't know that there are so many things where you can find information like Good On You and so on. So what we will certainly do is put the links to these after the fireside chat. And I think that we don't need to embrace all the possibilities, but just starting with what feels right for each one of us. So, I can upcycle because I can do this. Someone else who doesn't sew can use another first step to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first started getting into this, I felt just stuck. I just didn't buy new things. And sometimes I'll see there's different challenges of, don't buy anything new for a year or for 6 months. And that's okay. But I think it leads to a bit of a binge and restrict cycle. If you don't buy anything, then at the end of the year, you have to buy a whole bunch of things because you're out of stuff. And or you get stuck in this, I have to be perfect. I can't, no brands are good. I can't buy anything, or this super sustainable brand isn't my style or doesn't fit my body, or, you can get really stuck. So I would say, best to start small, look in your closet, see what you already have, what can you work with, and then take small steps that feel meaningful to you.
Yes, I think it's really about being aware and mindful of why you buy something, where you buy it, being a little bit more interested in the story behind. As you said, you have sustainable brands, knowing that it is, for example, a brand which is making clothes near where you live and not from the other side of the world, has already a more positive impact. Let's say it like this. And there are a lot of things we can do. And as I said at the beginning, it's really about voting with your money.
Yeah.
So you decide where you put your money in. There is also there was something trendy. I think it was around 5 or 10 years ago. I don't remember anymore, which was the capsule wardrobes, like 333.
Yeah. I remember when that came out and it resonated. It's basically creating a wardrobe where everything kind of goes together. So you have a few shoes, a few pants, a few tops, and then everything can be rearranged and put together. So you don't have that one piece that goes with nothing, or that one piece that only goes with one other thing, and so you can't use it as much. I think it's a really nice idea. It can be a lot of work to kind of maintain that or find something. It can also get boring depending on what it depending on your style, how you like to use fashion. I think it can be a really useful tool. I like the way it says, instead of having a massive closet full of tons of things, have some things that work together. And I think when I think of my closet, all of my coats I have a certain color theme, things go together. I think you can definitely work with that idea, whether you have a true capsule wardrobe or whether you just have a wardrobe that it makes sense, kind of works together.
Yes, because oftentimes we always put on the same clothes, even if we have like 10 times more. And you have your favorite T-shirt, your favorite jeans, or whatever, and you're always cycling through the same clothing. And the other 90% oftentimes just hang in your closet, and you put them on 1, 2, 3 times a year. And this is why I was thinking the capsule wardrobe. It doesn't have to be perfect like the 333, but taking the basics from it and saying, okay, if I need something new, what color should I choose to be sure that I can match it with what I have already?
Yeah, and I think that's where taking inventory of your closet and seeing, what do I have, what will this go with? If I buy this, will I need to buy something else to go with it? If I buy this dress, do I have any shoes that can go with it, or do I need another? Do I also need to buy another pair? So I think it's a concept that really helps you be intentional about your wardrobe.
Yes. I imagine that when we talk about sustainable fashion, it goes far beyond only the clothing. It also has to do with all the accessories, shoes, bags, and so on.
Yeah. They're all part of that cycle. Often shoes and bags are leather as well, which has its own kind of impact. So absolutely, and I think those can fill up our closet quite quickly too. Lots of shoes or bags. Those can be the easy things to buy. Sometimes, I don't know if everybody has this, but clothing can be challenging to find the perfect fit, whereas a bag or shoes can fit quite always fit. So they're easy to pick up as well. So it's nice to have classics that will stay in your closet for a long time and that you'll take good care of.
Yes. One question: if someone has a huge closet, overcrowded with clothes, where you can't find what you want to wear, like the question you hear a lot, I have my closet full, but I don't know what I should put on. Today, maybe this is the first step for people to say, okay, maybe I have really too much. What can I do with what I don't want anymore, or what doesn't fit me anymore? Because there is also the favorite jeans or shirt or dress we love, but we didn't put it on for years because we can't get inside anymore. So what would you say people should do with this? Because obviously we don't want that to end up in a landfill.
So if the clothes are in good condition, I would say try and sell them, donate them, do a clothing swap. There's starting to be a lot of nice apps for selling clothes. Well, you can do it. You could do it on Facebook Marketplace, on different online platforms. I found Vinted is a really nice one. I think it's pretty popular in the Netherlands, in Belgium, France, Spain. It's a very easy app. You just take photos of your stuff. People can buy it easily. The shipping's all taken care of within the app. It's a really safe and easy platform to use, so I quite like that one. You can take it, I would say donate it if you can. to things like Goodwill, consignment stores. Although I find those are sometimes a bit complicated, but there's certainly a lot around. So yeah, I would say before you throw it in the bin, the textile bin, because those are a bit controversial. Where does it actually end up? I've heard some of it just gets incinerated, other floods markets in Africa with too many clothes that they don't need, and disrupts local markets. So if you can avoid throwing it away, whether it's in the landfill or even in the textile bin, try and sell it, try and donate it, have a swap with your friends. Those are all good things.
Yes. I mean, I have 3 daughters, and they oftentimes swap, even if I have one in a different, each of them are living in different countries. When one comes by, she's going through the clothes from her sister, and then she takes things and she can also leave things, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So always nice to make a swap, and you can do this like a fun Saturday afternoon, for example, invite some friends and let everyone bring the clothes that they don't wear anymore, and just swap it. I think this is also not only about sustainable fashion, but it's also about community and getting together, and this also makes people happier.
I did one once with friends, and it was really nice. There was a woman who just moved from Brazil and didn't have a winter coat, and I had a winter coat that I didn't need anymore, and so it was kind of nice to see where it's going and what its new life is going to be. So that makes it a bit more personal and special, I think. Another nice option is if you have a lot of business clothes or kind of nice clothes, there's often nonprofits that work with women in setting them up with new business outfits. So I volunteered with one in Canada that did that, and I know there's one here in Amsterdam. I'm sure there's others, because often a barrier to starting a new job is often not having professional clothing. So if you have some that you're no longer wearing, that's also a nice option for that type of clothing.
Yeah, it reminds me of what we actually often do when we have children, and when they grow out and we don't have another child coming behind. It's giving away what we don't use anymore to someone we know who will have a baby, and so on. And so it's actually just doing the same, but as grown-ups.
Exactly. Yeah, we forget about it when we're adults, but it's a nice concept.
Yeah. And I mean, I already hear a lot of people who are really interested in fashion or want to look good with the latest things which are trendy. How should they approach this? Because someone who really wants to be trendy all the time and is really interested in fashion, it can be kind of difficult to say, okay, I want to move to sustainable fashion, slow fashion, but how can I do this?
Yeah. I think, well, part of it is, for me, it's moving away from being trendy and moving towards being stylish. So how do you, rather than picking up on whatever new thing is coming through the door, cultivating your own personal style, what works for me? And that doesn't mean you can't have new things every year, but it likely means you're not going to be just jumping on whatever trend is happening and might not actually suit you or your lifestyle that well. I would also think, if you do want to be trying out new things often, think of what are you going to do with it after. If you maybe a fashion rental, that's a thing. So I know there's one in the US called Rent the Runway. I think there's others popping up in Amsterdam. There's a shop, so it's a brick and mortar shop, and it's called Lena, the Fashion Library. So you can go there and rent clothing. So I would say look into different options, but really think, like, what am I going to do with this when I'm done with this? So consume, but think of how you're going to dispose, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, there is actually, from what you told me, there is an option for everyone, really. And I mean, as an example, to put this into perspective, 20 years or 30 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily cross someone in the street wearing the same shirt as you were wearing. But nowadays, this is perfectly possible. And you can even go outside and find more than one person wearing the same shirt or the same dress or whatever. So actually being trendy, as you said, I think it's also a question of personality. So do you really want to be trendy and look like everyone else, or do you want to be stylish and then you don't need necessarily to have the same as everyone else has?
Yeah, and people will notice you, because I think if you're really dressing authentically for yourself and in a way that fits your body and works with you, people will notice that, and people will recognize style. And so I don't think it's necessary. Personally, I don't think it's necessary to be on top of the newest trends. But sure, if you want to have fun with it and play around with it, I think there's different ways to do it. And I know at the moment there's this revival of kind of 90s 2000 fashion, which lends itself actually well to vintage shopping. So I think if someone wants to be trendy, they could do vintage shopping, kind of ironically. So that's, I don't know, that's maybe a nice way to do it as well. But definitely, I think there's an angle for everybody, but really just considering what's going to happen with this when I'm done with it.
Yeah. No, I think that also what is most important, that whatever you are wearing, you feel good in your own skin and in your own clothes.
Yeah.
Because that's a purpose. No, it's as I said at the beginning, clothes are like a second skin. So you have to feel well inside and comfortable, and what's trendy or what's the latest hype has actually nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So, yeah, I think that we covered the basics of, I would say, almost everything. Obviously, we could speak hours about fast fashion, about sustainable fashion, and what you can do with this slow fashion as well. But I think that it's really important that people are reminded of the impact it has, because we don't hear, except for 2015, like I said, what happened in Bangladesh. People realized a little bit what could be behind the fashion industry, but we don't hear about this on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So it's not on the forefront, and if we're not mindful about this, we don't think about it, and we keep shopping like before. So I think really questions to ask is, do I really need it? Can I match it with something I have already at home? Is it of a good quality? And yes, you vote with your money. So being mindful of what you buy and where you buy it and how you take care of it is already the first big step.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, it was really a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. Just as a quick reminder, the Bonsai and Jacaranda members will have their bonuses in their membership area. They can also have ask more questions. We will answer them later on, and you will find all the links to the different apps and more information below the video. Next month, I will have another person coming in talking about purpose. So I think that this will also help with purposefully shopping. And many thanks for coming. And yes, let's start being more mindful about how we shop, about fashion in general, and how we wear it.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Heather. Bye.